What's good, y'all? Welcome to my review for the final episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind. And the final time I'm going to be talking about JoJo on Sundays unless part 6 when that airs, so, because like I think I said this at the beginning. At the beginning of my reviews, or I might have mentioned this, but I've mentioned this before, that this is the last time we're going to be watching JoJo as a dub only. When part 6 drops, I'm going to be watching that with everybody else with the sub. Obviously, when it airs on Toonami, I'm gonna be watching it, but I won't be reviewing it like I did last time. So yeah, this is the final episode, man. And man, what a finale it was. This is how you end your part of JoJo. This is how you end a part of JoJo, ladies and gentlemen. Legit. I was actually, like one thing that was definitely kind of found interesting about these last two episodes, because like really the whole mystery with this episode wasn't so much, oh, did the girl commit suicide? Did this guy murder her? It was like, what the hell is the point of these last two episodes? And when we did, Rocky, I see you, fam. I see you. I see you. Clever bastard. Clever bastard. Yeah, man, this was awesome. Looking forward to part 6 also whenever that airs. Don't know when, we haven't really got much of anything, but yeah, man, without further ado, let's just jump right into this episode. So we start this episode off actually with the OP this time, which is that's kind of strange because we usually, well, first off, the one thing that was weird about this, it wasn't the fact that the OP played at the beginning, sometimes that happens, was that that the OP actually played in full this time. Because you guys may know that Toonami usually chops the OP to like 30 seconds or whatever, for whatever reason. After it airs, after we see the full OP, then it just gets chopped. Unless you're like starting the show, then you get the full OP for some reason. I don't know why it works, but they usually cut it. But for some reason, this time, they let the OP play completely in full. Now, I don't know if anything new played, because I couldn't tell any real difference between this OP and the one from like last week. But so if you guys know any differences between the OPs, if there was, like small or whatever, tell me down in the comments. Because I honestly didn't notice anything. Maybe I'm just like, you know what, fine. We'll let the whole OP play in full for once. Because it's the last episode. I don't know. But regardless of such, we pick up where we left off last week with, of course, Mista finally finding that sculptor, and he first off he tries to move his hand a little bit, and he interrogates are you the sculptor? Identify yourself, before he just shoots him in the hand. And what was up with Mista in this episode? Low key, I don't think we've ever seen Mista this visually. This isn't Mista that's joking around and whatnot like he has been for almost years. This is all business Mista. This is Mista that's low key kind of pissed off, because he was going in on this guy, and I'm like, where the hell did this come from? Now, granted, it's about he's looking to see if it was a murder of the girl, so that probably also affected his mood, I guess, when we finally met him. I guess, I don't know. But anyway, he was quite pissed off this week. So anyway, he starts interrogating him as he blocks. First off, he actually blocks the elevator door with his foot. And he's like, "You're lucky I'm not here to kill you otherwise, but knowing that you're a stand user, I'm I'm tempted to just put a bullet between your eyes." So then he starts to interrogate him about how he knows Bucciarati, what's with the stone, this, that, the third. And the dude's like, "What? I'm sorry, I don't know what you're saying." And then he just I think he shot him again before he pins him against the wall. And he's like, I'm the one. Guess what? The guy there with the gun gets to ask the questions. So he asks him again, what's with the stone? How did you become a stand user? How do you know this? Well, first off, he asks him, how are you a stand user? Where'd you get these powers? And he's like, fam, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. If you're top of this power, I've just sort of had it since I was a kid. Did you have this idea? And then Misa points his gun, starts pressing his gun against his face, I asked the questions, damn it. So, anyway, so after that, he asks him how he knows Bucciarati, if he's just a sculptor. And he says, I'm merely just or he also asks him if he's also a mafioso, he's part of a syndicate, and don't lie to me or whatever, I'll find out if I have to, And he tells him that he's just a sculptor, he's not well known by any stretch of the imagination, but he makes enough to survive. And so then he asks him, how does he know Bucciarati? And he's like, fam, I don't know who that is. And so then he realizes that's probably the guy that's on the stone, because we see Bucciarati on the stone. And so he thinks that, oh, like he says, like he starts begging, like, I must see him. You don't understand. This is important. You know, like I have to see him. You know, this. He's like begging to see Bucciarati. And then Misa tells him like he's not in this building. I know firsthand. You don't try and fool me. He's like, and then the dude says the only person for fooling is yourself. He is inside the building, and I must see him. So then Misa shoots him in the hand again and says, "Don't lie. Don't you dare!" He says, "Don't lie to me. Don't." He's like, "What did I tell you about lying to me? Don't test my patience." Like I said, and he's like, "Don't test my patience." You know, Misa's voice said about this episode was very good throughout the whole episode. And like I said before, this was a different type of Misa. This was a Misa with a chip on his shoulder. This is a Misa that's all businessman like. He's trying to get this job done and leave, man. So after he gets him up and pins him again, pins him. He's like, tells him, and then then Misa notices that the stone is now gone. And now the reason he says is because he said like earlier on, I almost forgot to mention this, is that he said that how his stand works is that it's like independent of its own. It doesn't, and that he doesn't really necessarily control, but it's like he can I guess summon it, but pretty much the stand has a mind of its own. It pretty much does whatever the hell it pleases. That's basically how its power is. And so he tells him to bring it back. And he says, "It wants nothing with us." And then he's like, "Allow me to tell you some art history. The sculptor Michelangelo once said, I forget exactly, but he's like, I walked towards the marble with chisel in hand." The way he said it was so cool, by the way. I like whoever voices this guy, he did a great job. Like the way he voiced this section was like, I walk towards the marble with chisel in hand, with no thought in my mind, as the stone already knows what it's going to take. As the marble already knows the shape it's going to take. And they basically says that what sculptors do with the chisel, they don't actually shape it. They're just there to unearth it. I think he said unearth the medium. They're pretty much there just to design it, not to bring it to life, rather than actually shape it to the shape they want. Their job is just to stand there and just make sure it gets to that shape and open it up and get it to that shape, I guess. So yeah, it's pretty much just an allegory. It's a metaphor for that's about fate. That's all fate's doing. This, that, and third. You guys already know how anime works. And so after he goes on, Misa's just like, all right, enough. That's enough from you, you damn nerd. And so he kind of goes on a little bit more about Michelangelo and how we're all destined to fate, how we're all slaves to fate, we're all tied to fate, fate is destined, this, that, and the third. He mentions did you also see the gush of blood from Bucciarati? And so he mentions, and so he says that it's most likely how he's going to die. Whether that's going to be days or months, I don't know. And he says that he needs to see him just so he can hear his last words. And that if he does, and that's how, that's what his stones, that's what his stand ability is. His prophecy stones. The stone can tell you when an individual is going to die, or how they're going to die, I should say, rather than when. So that's a stand builder, prophecy stones. But anyway, so afterwards he pins him Misa pins him against the wall, like I said, has his gun pointed at him and everything. And so at this point he tells him about the man that the floors that he went to go with, that the floors to go into probably had knee issues or whatever. And so he said that is an early sign of an organ disease that he's not going to overcome by himself anyway. And so what actually happened with his daughter is that his daughter saw that her father was going to die of that illness, and she was going to get that illness in a couple months, I think he said. And to avoid and to save her father, she ended up grabbing the rock, holding it, clutching it tightly, and jumping off the rock, because when she did that, her organs would be preserved, and thereby those organs would be work in a transplant with her father, thereby he would survive. So she sacrificed herself to save her father. That's actually really cool that Araki actually did that. I actually really dug that was the reason behind that. I thought that was really neat. And then Misa's like, "Oh, that's a pretty messed up way to say if you murdered an innocent girl." And at this point he has the gun. He's pointing the gun at him. He started playing some Russian roulette. Pretty much he took out 3 bullets, only left 3, and spins the chamber or whatever that thing is, and starts hitting the trigger. And so first one, nothing. He does it again, and he keeps going on about like fate or whatever. Nothing again. And the third time, he just sticks it into, and then I think he hit it a third time, and it still didn't go off. And then he put it in his mouth. It might have been on the third one or the fourth one. Either way, by this point, it's all the way in his mouth, and by this point, it's dead. And so, he fires the gun again, but it misfires. And at this point, he's just like, what the hell? And of course, I think it was number 1. He was like, oh, no, that bullet was number 5's doing. And I'm like, come on, man. Why you always gonna pick on number 5? What did number 5 do to you, man? What is everyone's beef with number 5? My man can't catch a break, man. Seriously, like, everyone be hating on my man number 5. I don't know why. What did number 5 do to you? But anyway, at this point, Misa's kind of lost his will to shoot him. The dude mentions this. He's like, you don't have the will to shoot me or whatever he said. I forget exactly what he said, but it's like, you're not gonna try and shoot me again. So he said, if you think I'm gonna misfire twice in a row, you got another thing coming. But it's like, yo. So by this point, he kind of leaves. He grabs his phone, leaves out the elevator, kind of leaves him there. Well, first off, he kind of goes on like, you see, we're all destined to fate, and then he just slaps him with the gun before he walks out the elevator while he's down and calls up Fugo. Fugo picks up and he asks him, like, what's going on with Bucciarati, and then he also tells him that the sculptor is a stand user. And so he tells him that Bucciarati actually did go into the building, which you saw in the end of last week's episode, that he did go into the building, and that he did, and he thought would have caught up with him by now. And Misa's like, shit, the dude was right. And by this point, so as it's like kind of looking around trying to figure out where Bucciarati is, he can't find him. And then that's when we find out Bucciarati. I think it was like a floor. I think it's like in the floor right below Mista. And that's when we actually go into commercial, which actually showed the whole commercial transition, with the JoJo logo and everything, because they usually don't do that out. A lot of times, they usually just cut it off right before the title card pops up. But anyway, after we come back from commercial, Mista asks Fugo what's Bucciarati's number, because he needs to contact him. It's very important because, the stone and everything. And Fugo tells him, like, fam, you're using Bucciarati's phone. And at that point, Mista starts sweating. And he fires up the last 2 bullets. He tells them to look after and find Bucciarati. So then he rushes back into the elevator and he starts shaking the dude, because he's like, I think the dude's like unconscious, but he's like shaking him, begging him, and he's telling him, like, tell me how to save my friend. Tell me how to defeat your stand. And then a while later, he's like, please, man, I'm begging you. Tell me how to save my friend. And I'm like, damn, man. And so then he finally tells him that if he might be able to save him if he like breaks the stone or reshapes it. He might be able to save his friend for another day. And that's when they find out that when the bullets come back, they find out from like number 1 that he's on the stairwell. I think they even said like he was on the floor right below them, and that that the stone beat them right to. He's literally like right up there at the edge, and it's just like looking right at Bucciarati, and And so Bucciarati kind of like looks over at it, kind of confused, like, what the hell is this? And he's like, and he goes to touch it, and then literally right as he says, you hear beats go like, Bucciarati! And it fires 3 shots out. And like his like facial expressions and the animation right here was really good. Like, I got huge props to the people over at production for that one. And like I said, major props goes to Misa's VA for this whole episode. He was fantastic with this whole episode. And so then Bucciarati starts to like close in on it, but then right in the nick of time, clutch came 6 bullets. All three of them managed to get them. The boulder hits against the wall before it falls down the stairs. And then, so they think and I think so you'll see some parts to kind of like break off a little bit from the rock. And they think that they finally won, that they beat the thing, it looks like they chipped it, that they destroyed the face, but then once it turns around and like, they reach the end of the stairs, Bucciarati's face is still on there and it starts to leaking. Leaking what? I don't know. Cement? I don't know what the hell that was. And Bucciarati's like asking everyone, and asking everyone, what is this thing? Why is it? Because then it starts hopping on the stairs. And at this point, I'm like, what is this, a horror episode? Is Araki also a master of horror too? Like, what is it? It starts hopping on the stairs and then jumps right towards Bucciarati. But then Mista comes in there, clutch, fires off a few shots, and once again keeps the boulder off of Bucciarati for the time being. So then Mista's telling Bucciarati to like get away from it, get down there. If you touch it, it's the end of your days. This, that, and third. He's like telling him to give away. And so eventually he like tries to like grab the rock and try to keep it away from him, but then it starts to sink down into the floor. And so then he's like looking around, like pointing his gun everywhere, trying to figure out where the thing is. And they tell us like, we gotta get out of the stairwell. So the next thing happens, we find out that the boulder seeps from the roof right above where Bucciarati is. Like I said, I mentioned this in my reaction. I'm like, what is this? I feel like I'm watching like a horror episode at this point. Like, what is this? So then it like comes down there from the rock, comes down the boss. Or no, I think it's like right here when it hit the other. That's when he was able to like shoot the bullets at it, and then either way, it comes down there, it misses. And then Bucciarati like sinks into he misses it. Bucciarati like dodges it, goes into like opens up a zipper in the wall and falls right through it onto the edge, onto the outside of the building, hanging onto the zipper, and certain death because of how high they were up pretty high. And so once he gets there, but then the rock starts to legit push through the zipper, the opening in the zipper. To close for Bucciarati. Like, this rock wants Bucciarati dead, man. Like, I'm like, damn, this rock really wants this man dead. And so then he manages to push through. He manages to push through, and like at least at maximum like be like an inch away from his face. But then Mista dives in there, grabs the rock, and he says to himself, all I gotta do is like break the rock or change its shape. From this height I can do this. And so then my man grabbed like death gripping this rock, holding it close to the chest as he's like free falling down the building. My man just free falling down the building. It starts to get away from him. He's like, oh no you don't. And then just starts ramming it against the wall as they're sliding down. Before eventually, once they get like close, he just lets go of it. It falls, cracks onto the ground, and Mista, like it's a fucking Dark Knight, lands back first on top of Fugo's car, like it's Fast 7, or it's Furious 7, or fucking The Dark Knight, whichever movie you prefer. And he just like land there. How the man survived that from that height land the car? I mean, I guess the car broke its fall, but still, man, you should not be able to get up that quickly. You should at least be sore. Your back should be at least somewhat injured. You should be at least sore. But regardless of such, he gets Fugo gets out, puts his hand out the window and says you forgot to record after your little tantrum. He has what happened. So then they get back onto the car. So then he gets off the car and meets up at Bucciarati, which, by the way, if you pay attention to the background of the frame right here, you'll notice that Fugo like just falls out of the car and like kind of like just sits there on the floor for a bit before he gets back up. And I'm like, why are you on the floor like you were an accident? Well, I guess because it did ram into the I think I actually ran into a light post. I think I actually rammed into once if I broke. But even still, I don't know why he's the one that's injured when Mista was the one that fell from at least like 3 stories or whatever and landed on a car roof. I feel like he should be the one that's more injured instead of Fugo. But whatever, regardless of such. So then Bucciarati asked him like, so I'm looking for that. I would like that explanation that you said you're going to give me now. And he's like, yeah, I mean, there's no point now, there's no point now, all you need to know. And then from there, he's just trying to, like, Bucciarati asked him, like, what happened, was it suicide, that was Fugo asked him once he finally caught up with him. And he's like, I don't know, man, all happened so fast, like, it's hard to put in a way that makes sense. And I'm like, what doesn't make sense? You met him in the elevator. You interrogate him. He told you that his stand is prophecy stones. He told you that the girl killed herself to save her father because of her internal organs and a mental disease. What's there not to follow? This is JoJo, for Christ's sake. This ain't nothing out of the ordinary, man. Like, is there something I'm missing? How is this? What is so hard to comprehend with this? Ladies and gentlemen, please explain that to me. But whatever. We then, after the stone is now broken up and everything, they kind of go on their way. And then we see the sculptor. The sculptor mentions that if only you have taken the stone's mercy, but you have once again been bound to fate. And in the stone, when the wind starts blowing, the stone was destroyed by Bucciarati, but then out comes the faces of Bucciarati, Abacchio, and Naranja. You guys will see my face in my reaction, but when I saw that, I was like, alright, Araki, I see you. quite ballsy of him to do that, actually, where like he's saying like, oh yeah, their deaths have been bound, their deaths were certain before the series, really from the beginning of the series, pretty much. Which, damn. And they could have survived had Mista just let Bucciarati die or let the stone touch him or whatever. It's actually pretty crazy. Like, that's a very interesting way to end your part. I gotta give Araki props for doing it like that, because man, I've never really seen an ending like that, to be fair. But and the dude kind of goes on hoping that they're just sleeping slaves, and that through their suffering they will find they will find their greater purpose or whatever. Which in a way they kind of did with how the series ended with Giorno leading the Mafia. So, anyway. Once we finally get back to reality, everyone kind of like gets their bearings and everything. Giorno's looking at the stand arrow. Misa and Misa and Trish are kind of like, Trish kind of like slips, kind of like almost fell, but Misa managed to catch her. And then next thing he notices, it's like, oh yeah, there was something there that wasn't there before. And then you see the menacing signs pop up, and it's another stone, and I'm like, oh no! I'm like, oh shit, here we go again, boys, but it ended up being nothing. And then next thing he knows, Trish is nowhere to be seen. She's gone. She's mad. Misa's looking around trying to find her. She's nowhere to be seen. And then Giorno tells him, like, fam, she's right behind you. And then we hear Trish's voice saying that she slipped on something that was behind the rock. And it's the turtle. My man, Polnareff lives. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Polnareff lives. And so, how that happened is apparently Polnareff, stuck onto the turtle for as long as he could and bound his spirit to it. So he's going to be sticking around with the turtle for a bit longer. How much longer, we don't know. Which, I mentioned in my reaction, actually. It was actually kind of cool that Polnareff survived. And my God, the amount of times this man had run into a death and survived, man, just fate love him. Because first you had it with Avdol, which was the name I was slipping on throughout my reaction. Because like I was talking about this in my reaction to the episode. So like, oh man, he's had these run-ins with death, and it's glad to see that he survived after what happened with Iggy and Avdol. But I was slipping on Avdol's name for the whole time. I was like, wondering what the hell the dude's name was. I completely forgot on it. But yeah, you had Avdol, and then you had Iggy, and now he's just bound himself to a turtle. Like, my man Polnareff is one unkillable motherfucker. And he also had that one thing where he lost his leg with the boss. Like, man, you low-key can't kill Polnareff. my man, this fate must love Polnareff, man. He's like fucking Kira, where it's like Kira always had luck on his side until the very end. I think it's Polnareff is the one that really had the luck on his side, really. But anyway. And so then Misa goes on like, okay, let's go to the Coliseum and fix up Bucciarati. And Polnareff was like, Bucciarati? I thought he... And then he looks over at Giorno. And Giorno looks back at him, serious and everything. And then he knows, which... I don't really guess what happened. Like, did he just, wait until they found his body? Oh, yeah, by the way, he died. He's dead. Like, what's with the holdup? Why are you waiting to tell them this information? Did they not tell him? Did he just, let them figure he's not dead? Like... What happened there? Like, I don't know why Giorno waited so long to just tell him, like, yeah, fam, he's dead. Why are you gonna wait till he gets to the Coliseum, find his body, and then oh yeah, by the way, he's dead? Like, I feel like you should just get it out of the way rather than rather than just linger on it, I don't know, but that's it. So anyway, after that we get a time skip or whatever. And we find out that, that you guys know the two opening shots of the OP of the door and then the dude kissing the guy's hand was actually was Giorno in the last episode. Usually you guys know me, I would always give Dragon Ball Super shit for always reusing animation from the OPs. I always thought it was lazy, and then I would bring it up when Hiroaka did it a couple times. But they never did that, so I never really complained much. But this is the one time where I'm not even going to complain about it at all, because this is just cool. I thought this was a nice little way to tie everything up in the series, having those shots in LP and be there in the last episode. I thought that was actually just really cool, honestly. But yo, can we talk about my man, Mista? Yo, my man looking clean in the purple. My man looking fresh in that purple, man. Like, yo, purple is his color. Like, goddamn, my man looks clean in that. And then you had Giorno rocking a black outfit. Whoa! Didn't look clean. And then actually, I actually did not notice this when I first saw the episode, as I was searching through Twitter, like I saw on the Toonami News account they were posting screenshots from the last episode, and someone tweeted out like the flower, the zipper, the wine bottle, I can, and it was with a gif of Pikachu crying. Now at first I thought now obviously those are represented of the three fallen comrades, Abakio, Bucciarati, and Narancia. Now the zipper is obviously Bucciarati, but I was kind of lost on how the hell the wine bottle and the flower represented Abakio and Narancia. I assumed the wine bottle was Abakio because it was purple and his outfit was purple, but I really didn't have much of an answer. So I replied to this dude's tweet, and he actually did reply back to me on who represents the flower and the wine bottle between Abakio and Narancia. And the flower is Narancia and the wine bottle is Abakio because of the flowers when Narancia died, those flowers covering him up. Those are the same flowers with Narancia. And then with Abakio, it was just a wine because that's what he was drinking when we had the kicking meeting, which that's actually pretty cool. So yeah, man, and that is the end of the episode and the end of part 5. Quite the journey this was, man. Now I'm sure some of you are wondering, Glenn, where would you rank this with the other parts? I mentioned this also in my reaction video, but part 4, I still think it was a better part. I think it had the better villain with Kira. I think it had overall the better characters with fuck, I'm slipping on all their names. Josuke, you had Okuyasu, you had Koichi, Rohan, the last 3 or 4 episodes of part 4. Overall, I thought part 4 was the overall stronger part, but part 5 was also an amazing part in its own right, and I am definitely very excited to see part 6 whenever that drops. When? I don't know. I'm assuming we might get an announcement maybe next year, and the anime will drop in 2022, maybe 2021. I doubt it because of the pandemic, but we might get something in 2021 as an announcement, but then not an actual release date till 2022, or at the very least late 2021. That's my speculation, my theory on part 5, or on part 6 release date. But yeah, man, tell me down below if you guys saw part 5. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What's your favorite part? Did you prefer part 4? Or do you think part 5 is the best part of JoJo? Leave it all in the comments. And yeah, man, overall, I'm going to give this episode a 10 out of 10, ladies and gentlemen. So anyway, hope y'all enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did, subscribe if you're new. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter if you feel like it. Links down in the description box below. And as always, be back for more. See you guys next time.